Every single summer, every single fan base in the NFL convinces themselves that this is gonna be the year. This is the year that the ball bounces their way just enough and injuries magically avoid the roster, aka destiny lines up in their favor. But if you've been around this league long enough, you know the horrible truth. 31 fan bases end the season in heartbreak. And more often than not, the writing was on the wall long before February. Let's take a look around the NFL and call out one obvious reason that your favorite team won't win the Super Bowl this year. Arizona Cardinals, Kyler just is not a winner. Look, the reality is that Arizona is still a roster in transition, and you get a ceiling that feels more good, not great, than Super Bowl contender. But you know, that is not an excuse for Kyler Murray at this point. In fact, he's kind of the problem. There is a reason the coaching staff is continuing to try and emphasize the tiny details with him. That's the difference between winning and losing in the NFL, and Kyler still can't seem to learn that lesson. The Atlanta Falcons, first-year starter under center. Yes, Michael Penix Jr. is officially QB1 in Atlanta, and based off the last couple of starts that we saw him make down the stretch last season, there's a good chance that he rounds into a nice player. But it is still way too early for him to take this team to Super Bowl glory, plain and simple. Atlanta has nice skill position players, but with a quarterback as inexperienced as Penix, this team is not going anywhere fast, big picture. Baltimore Ravens, playoff Lamar. Oh yeah, Lamar Jackson is one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the league right now, at least during the regular season. But once the postseason rolls around, he always seems to tighten up and his play falls off. Not exactly ideal for a guy who's supposed to be carrying a franchise. The Ravens have all the pieces in place, but until playoff Lamar exercises his demons in full, they're limited in terms of their ceiling. Buffalo Bills, lack of depth. Josh Allen is good enough to drag Buffalo to some wins on sheer talent, but you don't survive a 4-month gauntlet without the right guys waiting in the wings to be the next man up. Bills Mafia can scream all they want, but this roster is paper thin. Carolina Panthers, roster just isn't ready. Bryce Young might continue to improve in year 3, but come on, let's be real. The roster around him is not good enough yet. Xavier Legette is a nice piece, but defenses aren't losing sleep over this group. The Panthers are still in a rebuild mode whether they want to admit it or not. Until they surround Young with some real firepower, this team isn't anywhere close to Super Bowl contention. Chicago Bears, new regime. Caleb Williams is the future. Ben Johnson is the play-calling savior, and the Bears finally feel like they're moving in the right direction. But here's the truth. First-year quarterbacks and new regimes don't win Super Bowls. That is just a fact of life. Cincinnati Bengals, cheap ownership, angry players. The Bengals always sell themselves as contenders with Burrow under center. But the cracks are kinda obvious. Ownership is cheap, players are frustrated, and now injuries are already hitting before week 1. They're fortunate that they got deals done with their starters, but it's still a tough look across the board and has a downstream effect on the squad. I mean, just ask Trey Hendrickson, who was at odds with the front office all year long. Cleveland Browns, organizational dysfunction. Cleveland is heading into another lost season. You can't have your franchise quarterback sidelined, your locker room divided, and your front office constantly scrambling and then expect to hoist the Lombardi Trophy. The Browns keep proving that talent doesn't matter if that foundation is rotten. Dallas Cowboys, no Micah, no chance. Micah Parsons was the heartbeat of the Cowboys. He was the game wrecker that made Dallas scary, and Jerry Jones traded him away. Oh, typical Jerry Jones. Kenny Clark and draft picks might help down the road, but this year, that defense got a whole lot less terrifying. Without Parsons, the Cowboys lose their edge, and with the playoff scars that this team already carries, that's a recipe for another early exit, if they can even get there. Denver Broncos, wide receivers. Bo Nix has enough to worry about as a second-year quarterback. Then you look at Denver's receivers, and there's really just not much to get excited about, even with Sean Payton scheming up the offense. Yeah, he'll be able to leverage Nix's playmaking ability to break a few plays open, but without legitimate weapons outside, this offense has no shot at carrying them deep into January. Detroit Lions have to prove it. Detroit has been the trendy pick for the past 2 years now, but until they actually do it, I don't think that hype really means anything. Ben Johnson leaving for Chicago is a massive blow, and while John Morton may be solid, he isn't Johnson. The Lions still have talent, there's no question about that, but winning in the playoffs takes a different level of execution. Until they prove otherwise, this is just another paper contender, even if they put up gaudy numbers all regular season long. Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love and interceptions. Super Bowl runs do not survive quarterbacks who can't protect the football. There is a groundswell of excitement around the Packers following the Micah Parsons trade right before Week 1, but they need their QB1 to stop throwing it to the guys in the other laundry. Yeah, the Packers might be fun, but they won't be champions if Love can't clean up his act. Houston Texans, weak in the run game. CJ Stroud is a stud, even with the injuries. The passing game could be legit, but the run game just really isn't good enough. Playoff football requires balance, and as good as Houston's air attack looks, defenses will eventually sit back and dare them to run. Right now, they can't punish anyone on the ground. That right there is the obvious flaw, and boy, it's a fatal one come January. Indianapolis Colts, Daniel Jones isn't a starter. The Colts named Daniel Jones the starter over Anthony Richardson, and I think that's all you need to know about their chances of a Lombardi run. Jones has never proven that he can consistently win in this league, and now he's running a new offense with a shaky line in front of him. That is not a playoff formula. That's a bottom waiting to fall out. Jacksonville Jaguars, too much focus on Travis. The Jaguars drafted Travis Hunter to be a unicorn, but now they're trying to use him literally everywhere. Corner, wideout, gadget plays, even as a spot returner. Yeah, that sounds great. Until you remember that he's a rookie being asked to carry way too much. And Jacksonville trying to shoehorn him into their offense is only going to further stunt Trevor Lawrence's growth. Kansas City Chiefs, Rashee can't stay on the field. Rashee Rice was supposed to be the breakout star, but instead, he's suspended 6 games and already dealing with nagging injuries. Patrick Mahomes can cover a lot of flaws, but he still needs a steady wide receiver 1. Without Rice on the field, the offense leans way too much on Travis Kelce, and at his age, that's a dangerous move. Las Vegas Raiders, no depth on D. Pete Carroll is trying to change the culture, but culture doesn't replace players. And on defense, the Raiders simply don't have enough behind Max Crosby. You don't win come playoff time without a defense that has teeth. Los Angeles Chargers need a deep threat. Jim Harbaugh wants to ground and pound, and Najee Harris will definitely help. But, well, that passing game, it lacks a true deep threat. Justin Herbert can sling it with anyone in the league, but when you strip away the vertical options, defenses sit on everything underneath, making things harder for their number 1 guy, Lad McConkey. And that's a recipe for wasted possessions and stalled drives. Los Angeles Rams, Stafford's health. If Matthew Stafford's back doesn't hold up, the Rams don't stand a chance. He's already dealt with stop-and-start issues in camp, and at 37 years old, you're just not getting a full clean season. When Stafford is healthy, that offense hums. But the second that he's out, everything falls apart. Sean McVay can scheme his way around a lot of problems. Stafford's health isn't one of them. The entire team's season hinges on one man's spine. And, well, that's as fragile a Super Bowl plan as you'll ever see. Miami Dolphins, Tyreek Hill versus Mike McDaniel. The Dolphins have as much speed as any team in the league, but the question is simple. Who runs the show? Tyreek Hill or Mike McDaniel? Hill's absence in camp raised eyebrows, and the dynamic between star players and head coach matters a lot when January comes. You know, if they can even make it that far. Because at this point, it feels like they're a couple of bad weeks away from blowing it up. Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy learning curve. First-year starting quarterbacks don't win Super Bowls, especially coming off serious knee injuries. J.J. McCarthy will make plays. He'll give Vikings fans hope, but he'll also make the mistakes every young passer does. And in a division this competitive, that's the difference between playing in January and watching from home. New England Patriots, year 1 of Vrabel. The Mike Vrabel era is officially underway, and it's gonna take some time. Drake May is only in his 2nd season, and the offensive line is still in flux. Not exactly a formula for shocking the league. Vrabel will get the culture right. He'll have the defense playing tough, old-school Patriots football, but that's not going to be quite enough when the offense is still finding its legs. Year 1 is about building, not winning the Lombardi. Fans expecting a fairy tale run are in for a reality check. New Orleans Saints, no quarterback. The roster isn't awful. Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara, a solid defense, but this is a quarterbacks league. And without one, you're just treading water. The Saints can talk up their new era under Kellen Moore all they want, but until they figure out who the quarterback is, none of that matters. Derek Carr is gone, and the options behind him do not exactly strike fear into anybody. New Orleans isn't contending for anything meaningful until they solve the most important position in sports. New York Giants, quarterback, controversy. It's the same story every year. The Giants can't get a quarterback right. Malik Neighbors has already shown that he can be special, but when he's off the field, the entire offense sputters. Now, that's not on him. That's on the mess under center. Will it be Jameis Winston? Will it be Russell Wilson? How about Jackson Dart? I mean, come on. Do they really have a chance with any of those guys this year? No, I don't think so. New York Jets? A cursed franchise. Aaron Rodgers is gone. There's a new head coach in Aaron Glenn, new quarterback in Justin Fields, but man, just the same old fear undermining all their hopes. The fear that they'll be the same old Jets. On paper, there is talent. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Quinnen Williams. But come on, how many times have we said this? The Jets just find ways to implode, whether it's injuries, chaos in the locker room, or quarterbacks just not living up to the billing. This team cannot escape its own shadow. Philadelphia Eagles, the pressure to repeat. Jalen Hurts had 4 different play callers already in his young career. Kevin Patullo is the latest name holding the clipboard, and that constant turnover is not exactly how you build stability. Yeah, sure, the roster is still stacked, but the pressure on Hurts and this team to replicate their unbelievable run last year is going to be crushing, and every team will be looking to give them their best shot this year. Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers is washed up. Steelers fans want to believe that Rodgers had one last run in him, but the truth is that he probably just doesn't. Camp reports already paint the picture. Slower release, less zip, and a quarterback who looks like he's running on fumes. Yeah, the leadership is going to be nice, but this is not 2011 Green Bay anymore. Rodgers cannot carry an offense for 4 months, let alone a Super Bowl run. San Francisco 49ers, brittle superstars. Kyle Shanahan can scheme anyone open. But when your stars can't stay healthy, well, there's only so much you can do. January football demands your big guns firing, and as this roster continues to age, it seems to get harder and harder for the 49ers to have them all on the field at once. Whether it's Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, or even Brock Purdy, this is a group that struggles with the most important ability: availability. Seattle Seahawks, offensive woes. Seattle brought in Cooper Kupp to juice the offense, but come on, let's be real. He's looking pretty washed up and doesn't solve the bigger problems. The line is shaky, the scheme is still a work in progress under Mike McDonald, and Sam Darnold is not the kind of quarterback who erases flaws in his teammates. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, defensive secondary. Tampa Bay still leans on Baker Mayfield's toughness, but the defense, specifically the secondary, is the Achilles heel. The Bucs bled passing yards in 2024, and nothing about this summer suggests that they've managed to patch it up. In a conference loaded with top-tier quarterbacks, that is a fatal flaw. Even if Mayfield keeps them scrapping, this defense can't survive January football. Tennessee Titans, rookie quarterback, and Cam Ward. Cam Ward has potential, but throwing a rookie into the fire as the Week 1 starter is a death sentence for Super Bowl hopes. The roster is not good enough to carry him, and the learning curve is just way too steep. Tennessee is currently building for the future, not winning now, which, hey, given the rest of the roster, is the right approach, but still indicative of their chances at taking home the big one. Washington Commanders, sophomore regression. Jaden Daniels lit the league on fire as a rookie, but now comes the hard part: doing it again. I mean, just ask CJ Stroud, who fell victim to it recently. Defenses have spent the offseason studying every single snap of his 2024 tape. The weapons around him are better, Debo, Eckler, but the expectations are now sky high. And, well, that's usually when the regression hits. But what do you think about your favorite team's chances to win the Super Bowl this year? Do you think they got a shot? Heck, who do you think we're right on? Who do you think we're wrong about? Was there anything that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.